The last game at Bobby Dodd Stadium for these seniors just also so happens to be the biggest game of the year. It's time to make it count.
You are Locked On Georgia Tech, your daily podcast on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, guys? Welcome into Locked On Georgia Tech. I'm one of your hosts, Caleb Johnson. Maybe wasn't smart enough to get into Georgia Tech, but I am smart enough to talk about Georgia Tech sports. Taking this daily journey with me, covering the Yellow Jackets, is my co-host, Jarvis Davis. He's been covering Atlanta sports for the last 15 years. I want to start off by saying thank you for making Locked On Georgia Tech your first listen of the day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. We're free and available wherever you download your podcast, and wherever you go to download them, make sure you leave us a 5-star review. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Today on the show, we're going to get into, does Bobby Dodd have any open seats? I know there's some of you that might still be looking. Has the senior class for these Yellow Jackets changed the program? But first, Jarvis, will these seniors for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets be the difference makers on Saturday when they go and host the Pitt Panthers?
Absolutely. Because guess who's a senior?
Right.
Haynes King. Yes.
Dang.
If anybody gonna do something about if we talk about a win at the end of this, at the end of these 4 quarters against this team, it's gonna be because of Haynes King. It's gonna be on the legs and arm of Haynes King. That is the formula for success on Saturday night at Bobby Dodd. So for me, I feel like it starts with him. I think that when you look at this receiving core, it's senior Layton, right? You look at Malik Rutherford. I think Eric Rivers, I like what he's been doing. They've been getting him involved a little bit, and he's been making some plays. Haynes King talked about missing him in that
Right.
Boston College game because that was a walk-in touchdown if he makes that throw. So I think for those reasons, like that's the seniors that I just laid out for you. You know, Jamal Haynes. I know I've been pounding the table for Malachi Hosley, but Jamal Haynes still got a little something in him. I feel like he can be that guy to get this team where they need to be. So I think that the seniors are going to have to get it done. They're going to have to lead the charge and be the reason why Tech gets a win and clinches a spot to be able to play on December 6th in Charlotte.
Yeah, I mean, you just went through, a host of guys who are obviously big-time difference makers. I mean, I think, obviously Malik Rutherford being healthy, what he's been able to bring to that offense and that speed. I think of Omar Daniels, and I mean, man, are they even in this moment if not for some of the spectacular plays that he's made over the course of this season? I go back to that Duke game and the way that, his play really kind of flipped the script on the momentum that the Blue Devils had in that one. And like, there's been so many other moments. Jai Gilmore, like you start getting into, big time defenders who have been difference makers. The way that Brent Key went into a long spiel about Amari Harvey, talking about these seniors, but guys who have made an impact on the program. We're going to spend some time, just a little bit later in the show talking about their impact just to the overall program, but to this specific season. There was a reason why when you saw the injury report come out for a couple of weeks and, you had Jai Gilmore and Amari Harvey, and it was kind of an up and down thing of whether they were going to be available or not, or how long they were going to be out. Malik Rutherford, the same as well. Like, there have been so many impactful seniors, Jarvis, that and it starts from the very one that you mentioned there. I don't know that Georgia Tech fans like to hear it, but sometimes, like, we got to talk the truth on here. This year looks very different without Haynes. Like it's just the
Who's arguing
reality.
against that? Who's arguing against that?
Look, Jarvis, if you want my honest, I think there's a lot of fans who would be like, oh, well, we saw Aaron against, Gardner Webb, and, maybe he could have brought some of that spark. And it's like, I'm not saying that man is not going to be the great next quarterback for the Yellow Jackets in the future. However, like the numbers speak for themselves, right, Jarvis? Like it's one of those, you have the number one offense in the country because of Haynes King.
I mean, he is responsible for 46% of this offense.
Yeah, that's
when you talk about his legs,
right,
his arm. This man, he is this offense. That's why I feel like he should be in that final number going to New York at the end of this year. Like, there's no reason why he shouldn't be there. He should be in the conversation. He should be a finalist for the Heisman. So for me, like anybody who's trying to argue against that and trying to sit up here and put all this pressure on Aaron Philo, hey man, sit down somewhere. Calm down. Like, let that man be. Because what Haynes King has brought to this program is stability. And we know in today's game and how everyone wants to throw the ball all over the yard, Haynes King got a little old school to him. You can turn around and hand it off. Not hand it off. I'm sorry. He can take the ball and run with that bad boy 20 times a game and win you the football game. I think that last drive at Boston College when they against Boston College, we drove down the field, man. Once they crossed the 50, the ball was in Haynes' hand. He carried that bad boy 5 times on that drive. They said, Buster Faulkner said, you know what? We're going to win or lose by 10. And to be honest with you, that's a recipe for success. And it has worked for them. So I feel like when you talk about seniors being able to get it done and Bobby Dodd at night in a sold out venue, hey man, you go to your money makers. You win or lose by going to your money makers. And the money maker on the offense side of the football is number 10. Get him the ball.
And that's like it's him running, it's him throwing. But then, I mean, outside of that, when you start going through, as you mentioned, like one of your better backs, essentially your entire tight end room, the top end of your wide receivers, like there's Jarvis, we're going to be having some interesting conversations when this season is ultimately over, because the voids that this senior class is about to leave on this roster is going to be monumental.
Big Key Rutledge. Don't forget Big Key Rutledge. Yeah. He's a senior. This man, it is.
I know, dude.
They are loaded, man. 26 seniors. 14 of them have been with Brent Key since he took over as the full-time head coach.
Yeah.
Like, so when you think about it from that standpoint, man, I know we're gonna talk about what this class has done, but like this means something, man. And I think that's why I feel like these seniors, we're gonna see some impact being made, not only from Haynes King, but some of these other guys who've been here since the beginning.
Yeah, let's get into that. Let's have that conversation of the impact that these seniors have had on this program and just how big the change has been, Jarvis, that the seniors have made at Georgia Tech. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. I mean, you've got the tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands. There's nothing like it, and there's going to be nothing like it on Saturday at Bobby Dodd Stadium when the Yellow Jackets are hosting Pitt. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. You've got endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, and you should be doing the same thing, especially with the amount of seats that are going to be very limited and available for this particular weekend. The app gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you actually pay. The app is made super simple. When I've used it, I've been able to see the exact view from my seat before I even buy my tickets. And that just kind of gives me, the comfort to know what I'm getting myself into. It's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way that I bought tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket. Go download Game Time today. Jarvis, you mentioned it there in the first segment, just the number of seniors that this team has and how many of them, 14 players who have been at Georgia Tech for at least the last 3 years with head coach Brent Key. This was not a good football team when those seniors joined the program. And so, you have to imagine this has to feel pretty gratifying for where they're at right now.
Absolutely, man. I go to a statement that Jason Moore made, the senior defensive tackle who started out as offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Go all the way back to his red shirt year when Trevor Lawrence was on the other side. And they got beat 73-7.
Yeah.
73-7. And just got boat raced. And you think about going through that and then being able to come out on the other side talking about a play-in game to the ACC Championship, that means that Key is building something special. And the one thing that as a college football coach, you always going to have that class that's going to be your favorite class. I like to call it a legacy class.
Mm-hmm.
This is his legacy class. This is Key's legacy class. He's going to look back at 5-6 years from now when he's probably still going to be the head coach of this team. He's going to have his success and all this stuff and hopefully multiple ACC championships and all that. He's going to look back. He's going to say, that's where it started right there. When Haynes King came on board, when Jason Moore stuck around, when he was looking at some of his teammates going to go win the doggone national championship in their freshman year, Will Anderson at Alabama. Yeah. Like all of those things, when you think about it, Akilo Stone transferred to doggone Ole Miss and end up coming back. And they accepted him with open arms, like, come on back, we got you. It just goes to show you the type of relationships that he builds with his players. Even Zeke Biggers coming back, popping up at the press conference, and saying he was jealous. He's like, I'm jealous of what these guys are doing. This man in the league getting paid. And he's talking about how he's jealous of his former teammates. Well, those are the type of stuff that you just like, man, like, yeah, Key's gonna remember this class for sure.
I want to show the folks because I pulled a screenshot, Jarvis, from the press conference. Look at the smile. That just kind of shows you, like the relationship that Brent Key has had with these guys who stuck around. And you could like Zeke even kind of threw in the dig in the press conference of like, man, I'm kind of jealous, I wanted to be a part of this. And that's, obviously he's enjoying his time with the Miami Dolphins, but like having a program where you're seeing guys coming back and enjoying in the success that this team is having is really showing something. And as you've been saying, Jarvis, like this senior class, what they're pulling off, it being the real pivot point for a school that, man, I mean, I'm sure you probably felt a similar way, but I certainly was thinking that like there was a point in the Jeff Collins era that it was like it's never coming back. I mean, how do you fix this? Because like all of the things, Jarvis, that this school has had against it, of like the rigorous academic requirements, and then the NIL era and the transfer portal
Can I speak to that though? Can I speak to that?
Sure.
You notice you don't hear any of that now.
You don't. You sure don't.
You don't hear any of that now. because I know in the Jeff Collins era, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You know the requirements. We have standards around here. You don't hear none of that.
Yeah.
Brent Key just magically get guys that can come in and play. And you know why? It's called he can coach. You hire a coaching staff of players that can develop guys. It's cool to get the 4 and 5 stars, no doubt. Plug and play. And most of them, a lot of times, those guys aren't plug and play because they really aren't that good. Because you have people ranking them based off of offers and instead of what you do on the field.
Yeah.
But when you look at how the narrative has pretty much gone away. I know I heard that a lot with Jeff Collins. I haven't heard that in the Brent Key era at all.
Right.
The man just gets it done. He goes out and recruit guys. Hey, establishing a relationship with players and talking to guys and having guys want to come back. Because I'm sure some of those guys that were here for the Jeff Collins era, where they at? I ain't seen them. I'm not saying they haven't showed up, but it means something when you have guys come back after they've gone on and with life and played in the NFL or just be a regular old Joe Blow working. You got a good job, you got a Georgia Tech degree. What I'm saying? So
Sure.
I mean, it just speaks to who he is as a person, who he is as a coach, because when you have that even exchange, like players come back when they felt like they weren't used. Like they got something out of the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times I joke about, snake oil salesmen, college coaches and all that stuff. Essentially, they use you up. As soon as they're done with you, you never hear from them again. Brent Key's not that. He's a guy that a relationship builder, culture builder. And those guys want to come back because they feel like he poured into them and they're going to pour into him by coming back and say, hey man, you're in a good spot. This is a solid guy. And that means something when you got guys, you're trying to bring guys onto campus and trying to get those 4 or 5 star guys to come.
I think one of the best quotes that Brent Key had in his Thursday press conference was, he said, everyone talks about the negatives of college football these days, but I think just the opposite. And I think that's fitting as well. But he follows it up by saying, I think it gives you the chance to affect all types of different players. And for him to say, I think just the opposite, I was like, yeah, this is kind of true in multiple ways when it comes to college football. But just his mindset of like the way he was so excited to talk about Amari Harvey as and he talked about like the man that he became more than just a football player. And that transactional thing that you're talking about, Jarvis, like seeing something more than that, seeing a coach who can do both, because I think there's a lot of coaches out here too that is doing a great job of raising men and getting guys who can go out and be a great part of their community, but then maybe he's also not winning football games. Like Brent Key has found that sweet spot so far. And this is the season that's really showing it, of getting great young men, but also winning some football games, because man, Jarvis, the stats like speak for themselves. This is the first senior class to go to 3 straight bowl games since 2014. This is they can be the first class to go 2 straight years undefeated at home for the first time since 1953.
Ooh.
1953. Yeah, that's been a minute,
Yeah.
The campus looked a little different back then than it does right now,
Very much so.
So, the whole they're 10-0 at home up until this point, and can obviously, kind of continue that. Like there are so many things that haven't happened in a really long time that are happening with this class. And it obviously it starts with Brent Key and the vision that he's had, but it's also like the way that these players have stepped up, in some pretty pivotal times when you mentioned Jason Moore, like him talking about winning 3 games. And it's like, man, do I really want to be doing this? And you know, having
Question
guys,
a lot of things.
having guys willing to stick around
Yeah.
to get to witness this now.
Yeah, and when you're going through that process, man, it takes a certain type of coach to be able to keep guys around. Guys like Jason Moore, guys like, or be able to bring a guy like Haynes King in,
Yeah.
who things weren't necessarily going his way at Texas A&M, and hey, man, come on down here, be the starter. Come on down from Longview, Texas, at Texas A&M. Leave your home state and come to Atlanta, and we'll take care of you. Those type of things, like you have to sell. You have to sell it. You have to sell yourself. There's a thing called is a thing that you have to have, I feel, in regular life, in the real world, so to speak. That quiet confidence. There's something that means something to me for people who have that. But you have to have that as a college coach. But in today's world of NIL and all that stuff, you got to be able to verbalize that. And I think that Keith does a good job when he's having those conversations with players and talking about bringing them in. So for me, man, this game is much bigger than just a play-in for the ACC Championship. This game is for the Jason Moores of the world. Hey, man, I made the right decision by sticking around. You talking about getting into the ACC Championship game, getting a ring?
Yeah.
After 73-7, I'm gonna get a ring at an ACC Championship and get an opportunity to play on the big stage in the college ball playoff. What? Come on, man! Like that is huge, and I think the main thing for everyone, not just the seniors, is that Malik Rutherford talked about this as well. Just don't get tight. Go play free. Don't think. And just go. And I think that they do a good job of that at the Dodd. So I feel like this is going to be the game that they're going to be able to establish themselves as, man, hey, we were that class that got this thing started.
Well, Jarvis, you mentioned Bobby Dodd Stadium, and, we're expecting it to be a pretty electric place on Saturday. I just have to ask the question, are there any open seats? The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Maybe you're a Hawks fan and you saw, okay, the Spurs game got a little bit out of hand, but, looking at their upcoming schedule, I mean, getting the Pelicans, that's certainly a game that you can get some action on, especially with the way that Jalen Johnson and Nickeil Alexander-Walker have been playing lately. Look, with FanDuel, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com, sign up, play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Jarvis, there was a pretty exciting announcement that Georgia Tech football was able to put out on Thursday. Bobby Dodd Stadium is sold out for this Georgia Tech Pitt game.
You know what? I was kind of following along with Brent Jones. He was tweeting out 2,000 tickets left.
Yeah.
We're under 1,000 left. And then he's like, all right, we're officially sold out for Bobby Dodd. And this sellout right here, Caleb, 3 straight games of 50,000 plus in Bobby Dodd for the first time since 2011.
Wow.
So when you think about the magnitude, everybody's sold. That means everybody's all in. Everybody's in now. And all you got to do is go out there and perform.
Well, that's it. Like, we talked about the senior class, obviously, early in the show. I feel like I constantly, with this program, I go back to that 2022 Ole Miss game at home where it was literally the students were the only ones left who kind of stuck it out through, what was a pretty tough game. And just the shift from that low moment, honestly, in the program's history to reaching a point now where, hey, if you don't have your ticket, you might want to use our friends at Game Time because, like, otherwise you don't have that option. And kind of talking about like the senior class, not knowing if they were going to be able to find the success, not knowing if you were going to get to a point of Bobby Dodd being this full and packed out once again, because obviously Brent Key spent some time this past week talking about how electric this place can be because he's seen it as a player, and how great it can be. And so like he
had a pretty good record against those boys up 3-16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's
3-1, if I remember correctly. Yes.
Yeah. Right. What a like novel thought.
Yes, it's crazy. Yeah.
So I think it's really cool to see the sellout happen for this game. But Jarvis, like when it comes to the game itself, I know we kind of broke some of those things down in our last episode. The injury report for this game could be pretty crucial in the simple fact that you're going to be, Pitt potentially without their star running back, Desmond Reed, whether or not he's available to play because he got banged up in that Notre Dame game. But also their kicker, Trey Burkowski, who's up for the Butkus Award along with Aidan Birr.
Yeah, man. Special teams going to matter in this game. I'm assuming it's going to be close. And Georgia Tech is so strong on special teams. And one thing that will always remain true, regardless of scheme and what type of offensive sets people are running, how many times they throw the football, how many times you bring pressure on defense, it's 3 phases. If you win 2 out of 3, you're going to win the game most of the time. That is the rule. And when you have the offense humming like it is, and you have the special teams, that Georgia Tech has, and Aidan Birr, and, you looking at the kicker, Pitt's kicker, and you're saying, hey, he's questionable. We know we talk about backups falling off, and you talking about a college kicker. That's probably the position that's going to have the biggest fall off if you lose your starter, if he's not able to go. So yeah, that's one to keep an eye on if he's not able to go, because you pretty much got one kicker.
For sure.
That's good.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, and it's the difference in winning and losing games. It's why Pat McAfee created a whole kicking competition to happen on their college game day set. I mean, there are moments like the Clemson game where, Aidan Birr being able to roll out there and fire drill that kick and make it so that Georgia Tech can win is why they're here. Duke having a kicker who maybe the moment got a little bit too big to him early on in that game. And they also had like a bad snap early on in that one. And you miss a couple of kicks, and then your team Georgia Tech starts to feel some momentum and is able to shift that game completely from the way it started off, and you go on to win. Like, these are the moments that you have that can completely alter games. And so when I saw that, Jarvis, that Burkowski is questionable for Pitt, I was like, yikes. I mean, that that could be a huge boost to Georgia Tech. Now, granted, I know that Coach Key certainly is not going to have his team thinking about, well, we have the upper hand because, we've got the better special teams. Like, you don't want this game to come down to a kick, clearly. Yeah. But just the simple fact that is a potential. And even if, Bukowski's able to play, clearly not 100% healthy. And that was actually something that Brent Key talked about with Amari Harvey, is like, just because a guy is cleared and available to play doesn't necessarily mean he's healthy enough to be out there. Something that they'll have to kind of monitor with all of the guys that have come back for the Yellow Jackets. So health always plays a big part in these games, but none bigger than, you needing a win to get to the ACC Championship.
Yeah, absolutely. You got the freshman, Andre Fuller, who's questionable. He's a young guy that I feel he has some potential. I think there's something there with him. So you want him to be out there. You want him to be another guy coming off the edge and put some pressure on Mason. So those are some of the things that you definitely want to keep an eye on, because you want as many guys, many weapons that you have. You want all your weapons, for Blake Gideon. You won't want any excuses.
Right.
About you know what you're getting yourself into when you're facing Pitt's offense. They can put up points. So you better have a plan and better be ready.
All right. Well, the next time we are talking to you guys, we'll be following the game. We'll get on live and break everything down on Saturday following the 7:00 kickoff at Bobby Dodd Stadium. Really live, fun, electric venue. Should be a great game. And hopefully Jarvis and I are jumping on here talking about a win, talking about a Georgia Tech team going to the ACC Championship game, and a team that is going to, put up a serious fight against those guys up in Athens. That'll do it for this episode of Locked On Georgia Tech. We'll talk with you guys on Saturday. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and anywhere you listen to podcasts for free. Follow the show on social media as well as Jarvis and I. Thank you for making Locked On Georgia Tech your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On ACC. Kenton Gibbs and Alex Donna break down the most interesting conference in college sports, from the rivalries to the championship and every game in between. Find Locked On ACC on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. For Locked On Georgia Tech, y'all have a good one.